Great video, but what's going on with Amiibo right
Isn't
now?
Amiibo still doing well?
What about Amiibo?
Amiibo is still going strong.
There's still Ambo.
Hey, what about Amiibo?
Long live Amiibo!
How
about Amiibo?
So, yeah, a common response that I've been getting to my Fate of Toys to Life videos are, what about Amiibo? Or, isn't Amiibo still around? Or, even going so far as to saying that I should have declared Amiibo to be the winner of Toys to Life. And I'm sorry, I just can't, because Amiibo actually did suffer the same fate as the rest of those Toys to Life products, at least as far as being a Toys to Life product is concerned, and a lot of it has to do with this game, Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival.
Animal Crossing itself is a Nintendo first-party life sim game where events happen in real time whether you are playing or not. Now, I don't know much about Animal Crossing, as I'm not a big fan of these sorts of life simulator games, but I do like the cute designs of the characters, and I can really understand the appeal of it.
Amiibo!
Amiibo itself is also an interesting story. As I went over before, Amiibos are similar to toys like Skylanders and Disney Infinity in that they contain a special chip which can be used in conjunction with a video game. Only rather than being cross-console games made by a third-party developer, they are instead made by the console manufacturer themselves and are meant to work across multiple games, usually offering basic perks like skins or treasure drops, but sometimes being something more complex. Thanks to theming the first wave after Super Smash Bros., a fighting game featuring a wide ensemble across many Nintendo properties, fans were blessed with a huge variety of characters, with everything from Super Mario to Pokémon. I've always said that a huge part of Amiibo's appeal was how they were high-quality Nintendo collectibles, and indeed, these Amiibos sold like gangbusters when they first came out, often selling out promptly because Nintendo deliberately understocked them.
But still, Nintendo had a real winner on their hands, and the stores that carried these were very pleased that they sold through their stock so fast and were ready for more. So, what happened? Well, Nintendo did what they do best when they succeed at something, and promptly overextended themselves.
Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. Jeez, what a game this turned out to be. It is, to my knowledge, the only game Nintendo has ever made that actually requires an Amiibo to play. Not kidding, you can't even get past the title screen without tapping an Amiibo. So what is Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival? Well, have you ever heard of this game called Mario Party? You know, that fun game where up to 4 players race around a board to collect stars, with the basic turn-taking being broken up by frantic, fast-paced minigames which can turn the tide depending on who's best at them? Amiibo Crossing is the same kind of game, only if you took out the minigames and replaced them with monitoring the stock market. I wish I was kidding. To play Amiibo Festival, each player taps an Animal Crossing Amiibo on the gamepad to be their character in the game, although you really only need one to play with, and the other players being able to use these sorts of guest tokens. Players take turns passing around the gamepad, where each player taps their Amiibo in order to roll the dice. This board game has as many turns as there are days of the month, which means there can be between 28 and 31, during which players try to gain happiness and bells, which is this game's currency. The bells get converted into happiness at the end of the game at a rate of 1,001, and the player with the most happiness wins. Each spot on the board shows what that player's character did that day, and the result might increase or decrease their happiness and bells by a random amount. And then there's the turnips. Oh god, the turnips. Every Sunday, players have the chance to buy a bunch of turnips and have the rest of the week to sell them off at a profit. This is basically the only slightly reliable way to make money in the game, as opposed to the minigames in Mario Party that award money based on who does them best. Sometimes some special characters appear to mix it up a bit, but otherwise the gameplay is monotonous. Each turn involves rolling the dice, deciding whether or not to sell your turnips, and moving on. Yeah, it's really boring. 30 turns of this gets really grating after a while, and it doesn't help that the actual events on the spaces themselves are unreliable, unpredictable, and can fluctuate wildly. A space might see you earning 200 bells or losing 5,000. There are even extreme cases, like this episode of Grumpcade where, on the final turn of the game, former animator and local chin monster Aaron Hansen went from a distant third place to flat out winning because the space he landed on gave him 75,000 bells.
Are you serious?
What?
You're selling again?
And that's not a nice feeling, you know, when the game just sort of seems to arbitrarily hand the victory to somebody out of nowhere, regardless of how the rest of the game has been going. I mean, sure, it feels great for the person who wins, but do you know who it makes feel bad? Everybody else!
Next time on Rigged Grumps.
Yeah.
I mean, at least with Mario Party, you can argue that victory was down to who was the best at minigames or who was the most shrewd with their path down the board, but this was just the game picking a winner. Heck, I had something similar happen during one of my playthroughs. About halfway through the game, Digby landed on a space where he grew a money tree. I didn't have my recorder on at the time, but I did afterwards to show the effect. Yeah, Digby got 90,000 bells in a single turn. That's a difference of 90 points in a game where players rarely break 200. Nothing else that happened for the rest of the game even mattered anymore after that. There is only one board to play, with the minor change being dependent on which month you pick, and the other gameplay modes are locked until you play this mode several times. It's kind of hard to understand the decisions that went into this game.
I mean, I guess the idea was to make a party game that only needed one controller, but here's the thing about people who really enjoy party-style video games is they're usually the kinds of people who are willing to shell out the money to buy all of the controllers they need so that everybody can play. Or, at the very least, their friends will bring their own controllers so that everybody can play. I mean, I had a ton of birthday parties that went like that.
Amiibo Festival is a lousy party game. Heck, Game & Wario is a better party game than Amiibo Festival. Frank launching? Hours of fun.
Whoa, 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 whoa! I didn't even...
If you want to limit party play to just the gamepad, using the touchscreen in this way is far more engaging to the people playing.
But we're not here to talk about how bad Amiibo Festival is. I mean, this video is called The Fate of Amiibo after all. What we're going to talk about is the effect that this game had on the property. And here's the thing, I'm sure you can tell by now, but this game was an absolute financial failure. This copy of the game that I'm holding right now, the Digby Day 1 Special Edition, was originally supposed to retail for $80, and I managed to get it brand new for just $6.
These Animal Crossing amiibos, consisting of a bunch of forgettable characters and the one guy that everybody universally hates, sat and sat and sat on store shelves, never budging and, more importantly, never making space available for the more popular Smash Bros. Amiibos. Even 3 years later, stores are trying to get rid of these darn things, and it has had an effect on Amiibo's presence in the marketplace. Fewer and fewer games are supporting Amiibos, mostly using them for costumes, loot drops, or in the worst case scenario, locking off some game modes, hello Samus Returns. Their place in stores has also gotten way smaller. These things used to have entire aisles dedicated to them. Nowadays, they're lucky to get a shelf or two.
But importantly, there hasn't been a game since Amiibo Festival that requires the use of amiibos in order to play, and that's sort of the core idea of Toys to Life, that the toy itself is an integral part of the gameplay experience, and Amiibo doesn't really do that anymore.
They have been relegated to the role of optional content, and if they do work with more than one game, rarely is it more than a random loot drop. And third-party use of the technology is also rare, limited as far as I know to just Yokai Watch 3 and Atmon Coliseum, the latter of which barely sold 10,000 copies.
So I guess if you want to say that Amiibo won the Toys to Life war, then it's only because they aren't Toys to Life anymore. They survived the sinking genre by basically abandoning ship, and honestly, I don't know if I can call that a win. Until next time, this is Kodak signing off.
Hey, yeah, thanks again for watching. Man, this game was quite a slog to get through, although if you simply must play it in December. There are enough twists and turns in that month that it's actually kind of fun to play. So, hey, thanks again. Standard call to action stuff. Subscribe, ring the bells, try my Patreon, etc., etc. Thanks again for watching.